The lawyers in my office stood up, fought back, and we won.
But the fight over sanctuary cities is just heating up.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuary criminals.
The ultimatum from the feds to those protecting undocumented immigrants.
This is the time to stand up and be more politically aware of what's happening in this country.
Today, we're hearing from both sides of the debate.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Ann Makovec, and the Justice Department going after the purse strings of sanctuary cities, saying that they'll hold money if they don't change their ways. Today, we are looking at the policies that protect undocumented immigrants and asking if they're really the right way to go. President Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship through executive order is being hit with another legal setback. Today, a federal judge in Seattle extended a temporary hold on that order as legal challenges continue to play out. That comes a day after a federal judge in Maryland put a pause on it. Trump's order would have affected children born in the U.S. to immigrant parents. The judge called the order clearly unconstitutional. 4 states joined the lawsuit seeking to block that order.
In this country, we are safeguarded by the constitutional principles we have and an adherence to the rule of law.
The Trump administration is likely to appeal that case all the way to the Supreme Court. Administration lawyers have argued that the 14th Amendment's guarantee of birthright citizenship has been used as a loophole by those in the country illegally. Meantime, the Trump administration once again is taking aim at sanctuary cities. Newly sworn-in Attorney General Pam Bondi is ordering the Justice Department to cut federal funding to areas that refuse to work with ICE. California became a sanctuary state in 2017 when Senate Bill 54 was passed. So it limits how much local governments can cooperate with federal immigration officials. Those in support say it helps protect undocumented immigrants. The Trump administration says it makes cities more dangerous.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuary criminals, make that clear. So, we're going to hold sanctuary cities accountable. We're going to take them on it, and we'll take them to court.
The Trump administration is suing Chicago over its sanctuary laws. The lawsuit accuses the city of, quote, thwarting federal immigration laws. San Francisco has been a sanctuary city since 1989, but the policy really became a flashpoint in 2015 after the killing of Kate Steinle. She was walking along Pier 14 when she was hit by a bullet. The man who fired that shot was in the U.S. illegally and had actually been deported 5 times. Just last week in San Francisco, city leaders and advocates gathered at City Hall to publicly reaffirm the city's sanctuary status. Today, Mayor Lurie doubled down on it.
Listen, we're monitoring everything coming out of D.C. This was hit. We were hit with this about 8 years ago. We fought back. We actually won in the courts. And so City Attorney David Chu is working on this as we speak.
And in Alameda County, the Board of Supervisors created a new committee to try to protect undocumented immigrants. Their goals are to protect access to health and social services and establish a fund to protect programs. This afternoon, we are hearing from both sides of this intense sanctuary city debate. We're going to start with the San Francisco Republican Party. The chairman joining us live next for his thoughts on all of this. Stay with us. Well, today we are talking about the Justice Department's threat to punish sanctuary cities. The new Attorney General issuing an order to stop payments to any jurisdiction that interferes with federal law enforcement. And joining me now to talk about it all is Bill Jackson, chairman of the San Francisco Republican Party. Thanks for being with us.
And thanks for having me.
So just to establish right off the bat, are you for or against sanctuary jurisdictions, and why or why not?
I am mostly against it. I think that, it's certainly true that if you are illegally in a jurisdiction, that it would be helpful to have some sense of cooperation and relationship with the police. But when we don't tell ICE about who we're releasing from our jails because of these policies, it hurts our collective safety.
So it sounds like if the budgets get cut, if we're not going to get federal money to places like San Francisco and California, I mean, you live here too, that's going to cut your budget as well. How do you feel about that?
Well, I would think of this. I mean, we see how Trump operates. This is an opening position. We've seen it over and over in these first 2 weeks. This is a pause, not an elimination of funding. And look, San Francisco needs to come back with its hand. What are we going to do a little bit differently to keep our citizens safer and to collaborate better with the feds? 2 years ago, something like 2 years ago, Supervisor Matt Dorsey introduced legislation to allow collaboration with ICE to remove fentanyl dealers from protection under the sanctuary city. Absolutely, we should go in that direction or make other shifts to our legislation to make it easier to collaborate, particularly to deport criminals. I think if we take those kinds of steps at San Francisco, we're going to be smart negotiators. That's what Trump wants to see.
Right. Now, I mean, there's also the theory that these sanctuary policies do make people safer by basically encouraging crime victims to come forward. Otherwise, you might have people, feeling silenced, not want to deal with authorities when they were maybe witnesses of crime. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's an argument there. I've seen the data, and it's not clear. The sanctuary cities certainly don't make us a lot less safe, nor do they make us a lot safer in the sense of the daily criminal crime that we put up with. However, Trump has received a mandate to shut down our border and to deal particularly with criminal illegal aliens much more firmly. And it's time to do that. And San Francisco could get on the program without compromising its fundamental values of being a welcoming city for immigrants.
So all of these policies that you just kind of referenced, trying to close the border and making things less friendly to immigrants who are here illegally, it's obviously having some unintended consequences on a lot of our local communities as well right now, people being afraid to go to school or being afraid to go to work. Do you have any concerns about that?
Yes. Clearly, we are overdue in this country. The last major overhaul of our immigration regulations was in 1986 or so under President Reagan. We are well overdue for a comprehensive reform of the system. Immigrants are a critical part of our country, and we should welcome them. However, refusing, as San Francisco has done, to collaborate with ICE to deport fentanyl dealers is just shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to be reasonable about it and maintain our values as San Franciscans who welcome immigrants in general, and still be able to get to yes when it comes to collaborating with ICE to deport fentanyl dealers.
Are there any other nuances of this debate that you'd like people to understand?
Yes, there are many immigrants here legally who've come over many years who are also concerned about the rates of illegal immigration, particularly in the past couple of years. And, when we talk about why President Trump won the election, I think it's a general sense, broadly shared, rich and poor, different races and ethnicities, that we need to get back to basic law and order on things like policing the border and managing our immigration system. Legal immigration, great. Illegal immigration, not so good. And deporting criminals, essential.
We are not quite a month into the Trump presidency. Do you think that people who voted for him, this is what they want to see? How would you rate his presidency so far?
Yeah, I think we can think of Trump, whether you're on the left or the right, I encourage everyone to think of Trump as our disruptor in chief. We need disruption from the status quo. For example, right now we have a budget deficit, an annual budget deficit of around $1.8 trillion, about almost 7% of our economy. We're on a collision course with financial reality. We need to cut a bunch of things. We need to look at, yes, may need to tune our revenue a little bit too. We need to cut a bunch of things, and we need to be smart about government. The first thing that comes out of Trump's mouth is rarely the last word and the ultimate way that things will settle. So, if you're excited about Trump, as I often am, great. But if you're concerned about him, I encourage you, let it play out and he's negotiating, and we should play at San Francisco the other side of that negotiation when it comes to, deporting criminal illegal aliens.
All right, Bill Jackson with the San Francisco Republican Party. Thanks. Stay with us for more
Thanks.
on our conversation on sanctuary cities coming up after the break. An immigrant rights group organization giving us their side of the story. What they have to say about the Justice Department's order. We're going to be right back. All right, continuing our conversation about the feds threatening to cut funding to sanctuary jurisdictions like California, like San Francisco, much of the Bay Area. Joining me now to talk about it is Xiuming Cheer, the Deputy Director of Immigrant and Racial Justice at the California Immigrant Policy Center. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
This is obviously a very trying time right now for a lot of people in the immigrant community, especially those who are in the country illegally. Can you just give us a picture of what they're dealing with emotionally right now?
Sure. So it definitely feels like whiplash, and it's been very frightening. We've heard so many accounts of people being afraid to drop their children off at school, being afraid to go to work, just being afraid to go about their everyday lives for fear of an ICE raid or an ICE arrest. So this is definitely a heightened climate of fear. We're also seeing a lot of people fighting back with power, really looking at learning about their rights, asserting those rights, and really working together as a community to make sure that we can protect ourselves if we are confronted by ICE.
Let's zero in a little bit on this sanctuary city policy right now, because that's a big headline today when it comes to the immigrant rules. What are the benefits, do you think, of being a sanctuary jurisdiction, not only for the immigrants, but for everybody who lives in that city or state?
So at its core, the idea of sanctuary is about a local jurisdiction using its resources for its own residents. So not using resources to facilitate a really cruel and inhumane deportation agenda. So what this means is that if ICE makes a request, and their only request, then local jurisdictions will use their discretion to not collaborate, not be entangled with ICE. And this has meant that a lot of people feel comfortable then approaching county officials or city officials if they want to apply for a particular benefit. It makes people feel reassured that they can actually interact with their local government without the fear that the local government will take down their immigration status information or turn around and turn them over to ICE.
So what would you say to people to say, well, hey, if you're here, you're undocumented, you're breaking the law, you shouldn't be able to get away with it, and you shouldn't get all the benefits?
Well, I wouldn't call it a benefit. Many people have been here in this country for years, if not decades, have family members who are U.S. citizens. They might be in the process of getting some type of legal status. We're looking at people who really are part of the fabric of our communities, people who really drive the economy. And so we view immigrants as Californians, as our local neighbors, and we really think that everybody should have a right to be here.
Are you hearing any stories of people who are planning to relocate back to their home countries right now, and what challenges they might find if they're trying to just get out of this mess?
I mean, unfortunately, that is a consideration that many immigrants are making at this point. Many immigrants are also creating safety plans for what to do if they are picked up by ICE, but it's an extremely difficult situation when you're asking somebody to contemplate leaving a country they've been in again for years, if not decades, where they've gone to school, where they raised their children. It's an extremely difficult position to put somebody in, to say that the country that you call home is one where you may no longer be able to stay.
And what would you say to parents who are maybe afraid to send their children to school and sort of are living with that fear? Should they do it anyway? Should they go to the doctor's office? Should they go to work?
Yes, people should go about their everyday lives. I think we are recommending that immigrants connect with community organizations, attend Know Your Rights presentations, really know what supports are out there, get screenings to see if perhaps they are eligible for some way to obtain their status. And also, many school districts have passed policies to limit ICE from coming onto school campuses. They have protocols in place if ICE does show up. So we think that it's really important for health clinics and school districts to also just reassure immigrants at this point that they are ready to step in should ICE show up, and that they're ready to defend immigrants.
Okay. Xiuming Cheer, she is the Deputy Director of Immigrant and Racial Justice at the California Immigrant Policy Center. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. You can always get all the latest headlines and weather over on Pix Plus. And remember to like and click the button on the bottom left of your screen to subscribe for the biggest Bay Area news.